Hey there, folks. Today we're going to be talking about level resets and the level reset tickets. I keep seeing this question pop up over and over and over again, mostly by newer players, but some people don't quite get the right idea about it. So let's straighten out any possible confusion we might have with these things. We'll start with the basics. First of all, you should hopefully understand that any player that you have, you can level up. Let's try something real basic here. And you can level up a player. And in doing so, I can do this by hitting the training button, and I can perform a training on him. And as you'll notice as I do this, he's going to gain 3 points distributed amongst his ability scores. Okay, so which points get increased there is random, and that's the whole point of the skill reset ticket, as we'll find out in just a second. First, we'll cover some basics. Normal cards you can raise to level 10, so you can essentially do your training 10 times. Then you're stuck. Same thing with bronze. Silver and gold players you can do a player upgrade on, which is covered in another video, so I won't get into that. So that's the basics. You get training points as you level up. They're distributed randomly, and sometimes they don't go to where you want them to go. So why would you actually want to reset your level? It's so that you can re-level up again and have those scores distributed differently. Now, once again, they're going to be distributed randomly again, so it ends up being a tedious process of resetting and leveling up until you get the proper distribution. That being said, I would recommend this only for players who are significantly invested in this game. I would not recommend this for any player who is not at least a gold level. And even then, with the rate that you churn through players and replace them, I would hesitate to even recommend it unless you know that the player that you have is absolutely top tier and that you will not be replacing him ever. So now let's actually go into some details of why you would want to do this and more specific scenarios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple of my players here as an example, and then we're actually going to do some leveling and resetting so we can see why we might want to do this. First of all, the example that I will use here is my David Ortiz. And I use him, when I use him as a DH only. And as a DH, I do not want anything invested into fielding. So if I tap on his scores here, I can open up and see on the enhancement line, those are the skills that he's gained through leveling up. And you can see that most of his stuff went to power, which is good for me. I'd have liked to have seen a little bit more go to I, and speed, I guess, is okay because you don't want somebody to be too slow. And ideally, I wouldn't have had those 9 points on fielding, but all being said, the fact that he's weighted more heavily on the batting side of things is actually quite good. I would not be able to get him much better. Okay, so we have an example of why we would want to potentially reset. Here, let me give you something to compare against. Let's open up one of my other players. Hopefully I can find somebody who has a poor distribution. Actually, I know who does. Let's go to Mookie Betts here. Tap on his numbers, open them up. Now imagine if this were Ortiz and he got these numbers. A whole bunch into speed where those could potentially have gone more into batting. Maybe not an ideal example, but because his power and I are actually good numbers. But nonetheless, you can see that Mookie Betts' distribution is entirely different from what Ortiz got. And maybe I would want something different for Mookie. I might want to reset him so he got heavier into batting and less into speed. That would be another example. Another example of this is pitchers. This is the one that people relate to mostly. Is if we take a look at a reliever and we crack open his scores, in general, you don't want to see a lot going into stamina. So I'm fairly happy with Robbie Ross Jr.'s distribution here. You can see he got 8 points into stamina, and most of his stuff went into velocity and heavier into fastball. That's good by me. I want that on a reliever. And in general, actually, I want that on most of my pitchers. So that's another reason. If he got something that was putting all of his points into stamina, you might want to level reset him and get a better distribution that way. Now let me come up with a more pointed example. about this and call out a player, the player that I'm going to use for our example of actually doing a level reset. We're going to look at Sisek, I think it's pronounced, here. This is a signature card. That means it's pretty much an end game card, which means I will be keeping this, and I will want him to be at a good distribution of points. And at first glance, you might think, okay, he's 64 stamina. That's not too bad. Things seem to be weighted fairly decently. And let's crack him open, and you can see that the distribution amongst the points is fairly even across the board. And so that he has some stamina and some fastball in there, and pretty much everything else evenly. Now that all seems fine until we take a look at his pitches. And if we look at his pitches, we can see he has a slider and a sinker. And the number that influences whether that's an A quality or a S rating pitch or whatever is going to be the BRK, the breaking ball number there. He has no fastballs, so why would I want any points into fastball? I have 10 points on this pitcher wasted towards something he doesn't even have that type of pitch to throw. So his distribution is not really satisfactory for me. So he is a prime case of actually wanting to do a reset. So before I actually go and apply this reset, I'll call out a couple things. Notice the level here says 17 of 18. It's level 17 of 18. After I apply the reset, that'll set that down to level 1 of 18, and I will have to level him up 18 more points. And in doing so, I'm going to have to spend all the points to do so. The second thing that I'd like to point out to you here is that I'm going to be using this level reset on a silver player. This is a silver player that I know eventually I'm going to do a grade increase, bring him up to diamond level, but I'm preparing this player while he's a silver because the cost to perform all my leveling up is going to be significantly reduced as a silver, and this is the ideal case. So let's jump over into my inventory, and they don't hand these things out as readily anymore. You can notice that I have 62 of these guys. At one point I was up to like 120, but they are not as common anymore, so that's unfortunate because you'll find that you're going to end up using a lot of them. So let's go ahead and use one. Let's flip over to my pictures. Isaac here. The moment there's not going to be a confirmation here. The moment I hit OK, it's going to reset him. There. See, his level has been reset. All stats will be reset to default values. Now, jumping back to the picture, I will have to point out something that's not going to be readily apparent on him because I actually haven't leveled him up at all, or skilled him up at all, is that if I look at him and look at his skills, these will not have changed either. So even though his level was reset, it would leave his skills intact. Now, for two reasons, that's not going to matter for me because he's not going to remain a silver. When I change him to a gold and ultimately to a diamond, he's going to get his skills reassigned anyways. So that's not important to me. Whereas if you were to apply this to a diamond player, then it would be a good thing that his skill levels were not reset because you wouldn't have to spend all that time reinvesting or leveling up the skills again. All you would be resetting is his level, and all you would need to do is redo his enhancements, which come with the leveling. So now let's go ahead and level up this guy and see what we can get. So once again, revisiting, he has a slider and a sinker. I want my points to go into location, velocity, and breaking ball. And pretty much if I can avoid stamina and fastball, I want that to happen. So what you quickly find out here is that we don't have a lot of control, and there's a lot of resetting involved if you want to optimally tune a player. Notice right off the bat, 2 points wasted into stamina. I'll take him up to level 5. That's what I recommend doing. Somewhere between the 5 and 10 range. Already I've got an additional point and one into fastball, so that's 3. That's 4 points wasted out of 2 levels, 4 points out of 6 wasted. You can see that this is not going very well. 5 points wasted. Okay, this is not going well. I'm going to cut my losses already. I'm going to reset him once more, and we'll start over again. Inventory, more than likely I'm not going to get an acceptable result during this video, and I'll probably have to finish this job off outside of the context of the video. But you'll get the idea. We'll do this once or twice more, and you can see basically how the randomness comes into play. Going back to SciSec, view details, training. That was a really roundabout way of getting there. Okay, anyways, train him. 1 point wasted. That's so far okay. Not great, but okay, good. Only 1 point wasted out of 6. 2 points wasted out of 9. 4 points wasted out of 12. Okay, raising in wasted points now. So once again, I'll generally give him between levels 5 to 10 to get an idea, cut my losses, perform the reset again, and then start leveling up again and hoping for a better distribution. Once I get to level 10, I'm fairly committed. Unless between 10 and 15 I see everything get wasted there, I'm probably going to stick with them. And then after level 15, things get so expensive that you're pretty much locked in, and I wouldn't recommend performing any more resets. So, that being the case, let's see, is there anything else I want to cover? Well, actually, that pretty much covers it for what I wanted to cover. So let's recap. Basically, if you apply a skill reset, or sorry, level reset ticket, it's going to it's going to take your level back down to 1. 2, you're going to have to reinvest in everything to get yourself leveled all the way back up to your maximum. 3, all the enhancement points that you get are going to be once again randomly distributed again, and you just have to roll the dice and hope you get what you want. And let's see, lastly, keep in mind that as you do this, if you're doing it on higher grade ticket or cards like diamond or gold, it's going to be more expensive. So if you are planning this out, try and do it to your silver players first before performing any grade increases on them. So that pretty much covers it. And yeah, all right. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. And otherwise, we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks again.